So many songs over the years. I just heard you reminiscing. Pre-Survivor, what was it? Tell us about the early days.
You know, IDES of March was my first band, and as of October 16th, we've been together for 50 years. Yeah.
We're talking mid-'60s,
yeah,
the British invasion, the whole deal.
1964, you know, our first rehearsal, we watched the Beatles on Ed Sullivan.
Of course.
And we said, we want to be that, you know. And we were very much a British invasion wannabe band.
Yeah.
And our first hit was called You Wouldn't Listen, and that was on Parrot, and it went top 40 in 1966. So that was our first taste of it. And then finally in 70, we had our breakthrough hit, Vehicle, on Warner Brothers.
Talk about that transition of, you know, the old-time rock and roll singers and the doo-wop and all that, and now it's guitars and it's amps and it's hooks, and what was that best memories?
Well, you know, our big shift came when we added the brass. You know, we went from British invasion to more of a R&B jazz rock thing. We were very influenced by Blood, Sweat and Tears and Chicago. We were doing it at the same time, but the brass thing really took our attention, and that's when Vehicle, you know, went #1, and we became a horn band. You know, and it was unusual because we started as a harmony band and ended up as a horn band. But then everything changed, and the band broke up for a while, and I put together Survivor, and that was a whole different muscle to flex. You know, with the melodic rock and soaring choruses, a lot of keyboards, no brass.
Like to get the feedback still from, you know, people of your era who come out and see you play, and it reminds them of the simpler days.
Well, you know, I love it, and I love to see the kids hoisted on the shoulders of the older people.
Yeah, 3 generations out there.
At least three and a half, anyway. And that what makes me feel so good, because the music is still resonates with the older and the younger kids. And a hook is a hook, and a good chorus is a good chorus. And it doesn't matter what you do, you can't mess up a good song.
Guys, you know, came into it with, you know, focus on the songs, and, you know, obviously the Rocky movie keeps coming up. You know, the Eye of the Tiger just, you know, took everybody by storm. Tell us about, you know, that, getting the nod for the movie and seeing that whole thing unfold.
Well, you know, everybody waits for lightning to strike, you know, and for me it was a phone call on my answer machine, and I press play, and I hear, "Hey, yo, Jim, give me a call, Sylvester Stallone." And I go, "Yeah, right. Somebody's putting me on, you know." But I called him back, and I called the phone call that changed my life. He loved our band. He had heard Poor Man's Son from the Premonition album, and he liked that street, raw sound that we had. He gave us the chance, and me and Frankie came up to the line, and we knocked it out of the park. He loved it.
Talk about going to the premiere and hearing the music come up on the silver screen. What was that like? Were you in Hollywood? Where was it?
Yeah, we did go to the big premiere in Hollywood, the red carpet, the whole bit, you know.
Chinese theater or Westwood?
No, that's a good question. It was
would have been Westwood.
Big-ass theater.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. And it might have been, yeah. But you know what? It was exciting, but you know, the whole audience was industry, okay? Yeah. And they're sitting there, you know, and they're applauding, but they were reserved. Compared to a week later, or 2 weeks later, I went to my local theater. I snuck into LaGrange Theater, sat in the back row. Nobody knew I was there. Place is packed. Eye of the Tiger comes up on the screen. The place goes nuts. And that meant more to me than the Hollywood.
The industry, the people.
And they went nuts. And I knew we had something.
You guys had, you know, so many hits, so many years. You know, we just obviously had the passing of Jim. You know, talk about what a singer he was, to step up, you know, and fill those shoes and continue to make hits for Survivor. Tell us about Jim Jamison.
Jimmy was an amazing person and an amazing singer. It's rare to find both. And he was a great performer, you know. And it was very difficult, you know, to replace a lead singer like Dave Bickler. there had to be a similarity, but there also had to be a difference, and he had both. His voice had a certain ring to it that, as a writer, really inspired me to write my best songs. You know, first time we auditioned, that he auditioned, Frank and I had just written Broken Promises, and I was teaching it to him at the piano, and he's singing in my ear, and I go, holy crap. You could just hear that voice. And then the next day we taught him Search Is Over, and he's the kind of singer that improved every song I wrote, or we wrote. And, you know, he would take a song and make it his own. And you would swear that he wrote it because it was so believable. I mean, it came from the soul. I mean, he wasn't just a rock singer. He was a soul singer singing rock.
Yeah. And talk about that. You know, we're kind of coming to that end of an era where, you know, we still have alive Little Richard, Chuck Berry, Jerry Lee Lewis, you know, but for how much longer, you know? I mean, talk about the ending of an era of the founders of rock and roll. It's still alive today.
Well, I think it makes us really appreciate everybody that's still with us even more, you know, because you're right, no one expected Jimmy to go. You know, with Fergie Fredrickson, he had been ailing for a long time. We were kind of getting prepared for the end. Not that you're ever prepared, but it wasn't the shock it was with Jimmy. Out of the blue, he's gone.
No warning.
No warning.
What advice do you give that young garage band? There's a band just strapping on a guitar today that has the same spirit that you did back in '64. What do you tell them? Because it's a different industry, but it still comes down to songs.
It does.
So what advice do you give them to find their own voice?
Well, first of all, don't expect a free ticket. You really got to pay dues. You know, in this world of American Idol and overnight success, a lot of bands think they can snap their fingers. You can't. It's very rare at any rate. And you got to do the work. You got to put in the time. And you got to develop your own sound. And you got to play the clubs, the teen clubs, the bar mitzvahs, anything you can do to get out in front of an audience. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. But don't expect to snap your fingers and for it to happen.
No shortcuts.
You're in the wrong business. In a world where something goes viral, everyone expects bands to go viral. It's not that easy. It still takes the work.
For anything that lasts, especially.
Yeah.
Here today, gone tomorrow is one thing, but again, you're celebrating 50 years.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we're looking at these hits that never go away, you know. I'm sure there's still many of your songs that still get licensed, still end up in those film and TV shows, you know.
Yeah, it's funny, a vehicle just got licensed for Hardee's hamburgers. Yeah, you'll see it. And fantastic, I love it.
Yeah.
Gift that keeps giving.